So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the power of gradient maps in Affinity Photo. This is a tool that I've discovered more recently, and I find that it is a very powerful tool when making different creative designs, and it adds a lot of variability to images that you may have already. So I just wanted to show you kind of the basics of gradient maps, so hopefully it's something that you can incorporate into your designing as well. So first of all, I am using this base image here. I think this is a great type of image to use with gradient maps because it has a contrast between darks and lights, which is something that you're going to see is very helpful when you're using a gradient map. So here's our base image. So to throw a gradient map onto this straight away, I'm going to go over here to our adjustments, and I'm going to click on gradient map. And so this is the default color scheme for a gradient map. So basically, with a gradient map, you're looking at your darks, your midtones, and your lightest colors. And you can mix those up if you want. You can add more points if you want. It really is up to you. So let's just start picking some colors. So let's say we wanted our darkest shades to be like a deep purple, and we kind of wanted those to work up to a more pinky color, maybe a little lighter. And then we wanted our highlights to kind of have like an orange tone, with our lightest colors having like a real white finish. And so as you can see, we already have something pretty cool looking to start, and you can adjust this by moving these nodes back and forth to kind of match whatever vibe you want with this image. And that's just the beginning of gradient maps, but that is the basics of how they work, and they are their own adjustment layer that you could turn on and off, or you can control the opacity and everything like that. And because they're their own adjustment layer, you can also change the blend modes for each gradient map that you use. So that's very helpful if you don't want such a stark, full color. You can have it blend with the image in different ways, which can have some really cool effects, as you can see. And I think these are all pretty awesome, and they can take an image to a whole new level that you maybe didn't even see until you tried it out. So that's just one benefit. So let's say you liked this color combo and you wanted to save it for future reference. You would hit this button up here. It's called Add Preset. Say we wanted to call that Sunset, just so we remember. Okay, so now say we delete this and you wanted to access it at another time. You would simply go to your Adjustments tab and go to your Gradient Map section, and here would be all your presets. So I have other presets, which is why there's lots of them, but typically it would just be default, and then we've added Sunset. And as soon as you click that, boom, pops right up. You can then edit it as you please and change everything, and it won't affect your presets. One of the presets that I use is a black and white one, because I find that using a black and white preset, it's much more effective than the black and white filter. It has a lot more dimension. So for example, if I hide that for a second and I had made this black and white over here, yes, you can play with all the levels and things like that, but that is not nearly as contrasting and dynamic of an image as using a gradient map would be. So that's another benefit of the gradient maps. So you can really play around with colors and find ones that you like for different reasons or different purposes, and they serve a lot of versatility for sure. And you can even layer them. So say we pick this one, and then we copy and paste it. So now we have two. You can actually change the blend mode of the one on top of the first one, and you can have even more variety if you really wanted to start playing around with how things look. There's really an endless amount of creativity that you can have with gradient maps, and they're so powerful. But I know a lot of these designs seem very extreme, and you're thinking, oh, I do more like realistic graphic design rather than something extremely graphic like this. But gradient maps can also be used for that purpose. So for example, say we were doing a photo spread, or we were doing something that involved this image and another image. Let's say we were using this image. You can see that this image is very warm and dusty, and this image is very cool. And in some ways, they contrast each other nicely. But say you wanted everything to look like it was from the same photo shoot or something like that. What you could do is make a custom gradient map related to this image that would then apply to this image and make them look more cohesive. So the way we would do that is we would add our gradient map. And then what I do is hide the gradient map so I can edit it without seeing the colors. And you click on that. Those are our colors. So what we want to do is take the lowest color and the highest color from this image. So I'm going to start with our darkest color, and I'm going to search something probably like gray-brown seems to fit this image. A mid-tone would probably be this like building structure back here. And then the lightest color is probably not a white, it's probably more like a grayish beige like that. So that's just a good starting point. So then we can plop that back on. We'll bring our image over that. Okay. So to start blending that into the base image, you can start playing with your blend modes. And usually when you're trying to just change the coloration, this section down here is helpful. So overlay, soft light, and hard light. I really like all of these. And you can see that even just doing that simple filter of the blend mode, these two are much more cohesive now. If you turn that off, you can see the cool tones are much more prominent. And when you turn that on, the warmth comes through and you really can see how these photos blend together. But you could be even more dramatic with that change if you wanted to use like hard light, and then these would very much look like directly related images. And I think that's a really nice feature to have, where you could kind of change like the tone of the image in relation to any image that you want. So that's a really nice feature to have. And yeah, so that's really the basics of gradient mapping. And there's even more than I've showed you, but that's just kind of a basic overview of what a gradient map is. And really, it's just as it's the potential of them is up to the creativity that you have to mess around, and you can add 7 colors to these, and they could be different contrasting colors, and there's really a lot of fun possibilities with these. So I hope that introduced you to a cool tool that you maybe did not know existed, and hopefully you could play around with it and make some cool stuff. All right.